Now you see the problem there, because you know you want to play that guitar part.
Yeah.
You just want to play that. You want to crank the amp up and play the guitar. But then at the next song, you want to go let the fiddle player do something. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Eclectic.
Like I said, since the world tour is not in jeopardy, I can do this shit.
Yeah.
You know.
It's supposed to be fun, right?
Well, that's the whole idea. It's like, what do we want? What do we want to do next? You know, it's that's the beauty of it. You know, and I'm lucky to have the opportunity to do that.
I know folks, I'm sure folks will have a lot of questions. I want to get a few of those in before we move to the signing. So we're going to have a couple mics in the room, one on each side. And if you guys wouldn't mind raising your hand and just taking a minute to get the mic to you so we can hear it on the stream, and also so that we can hear you up on stage.
I could probably make this shorter for you, okay? Because I'll give you the answers to the three that you want to know the most. All right? Kevin Raleigh and I are friends. Jan Jones and I never were an item. And I have absolutely no idea who the woman on the front of stage pass is.
That's great.
Thank you.
Drop the mic. You're out. Casey, if you want to come down all the way to the front, if you would. All the way. Thank you. Carol, down in front. The Great Stage Pass. I love that record.
This lady came all the way from Columbus.
Yes.
I live up here, though.
Oh, you
I had an office in Columbus. I actually born and raised here in Seatown. What was the motivation for the design of your album cover?
Kid smoking a cigarette
Smoking
with a
kid,
chicken.
man.
This is I don't know if you've seen it. It's one of my favorite album covers. It's a little boy with a giant chicken, and he's smoking a cigarette. Somebody sent me this picture, and to my email, and with the caption, "Was this you when you were a kid?" And I looked at it. I said, I don't know what the deal is here, but this is the next album cover. But it turns out, so I traced it down, and the picture comes from the Canadian National Archives. It's a picture from 1910 of some kid named Henry something sitting with this giant rooster, smoking a cigarette. And I told our graphics guy, I said, we have to put inside that this is not Photoshop. This is exactly you can go to the Canadian National Archives and find this little dude there. But my best friend, who's in the band, he came in and he said, do you have the cover yet? And I said, yeah, I had a rough thing of it. And I showed it to him. And he held it for like a minute and a half. And then he goes, you're just getting so weird in your old age.
That's great. What else we got out there? Jen, right there, the woman right in the middle. Plaid shirt. Just kind of pass down the mic.
Hi, Mike. So when are you going to write a book?
A book.
Oh.
I got some really good stories, but you aren't going to hear those. That's the thing. You know what? A number of people have been asking me for a couple of years to do that. And every once in a while it seems like a good idea to me, and other times it doesn't. I have started to do something to try to put something chronological together. If anybody was interested in that, to me, it has more to do with the music than it has to do with us in particular, or me in particular. So I started to do it more as a thing to maybe leave for my kids or something like that. But the one thing I realized after I started, because I love reading interviews with musicians and producers and this sort of thing, and being a guitar, people who are into equipment, they call them gear sluts. I'm a gear slut. And so you always want to know, like, what did Billy Gibbons use on this thing? And what amp was Beck playing through on this? And how did Clapton, what was he doing there? And where did they mic the amp? And a lot of these guys give these detailed, amazing answers. And so when I get together and start to write these things down, I go, I can't even remember what studio we were in, let alone what mic was on the amp, or what the amp was, or what guitar I had, or what gauge strings I used. So I think they're really all bullshit, mostly. It could happen, but I don't know. I don't think the world's waiting.
Great story. So, Casey, right there by your side there. Thank you.
Michael, I think you mentioned one of your new song titles a little earlier, Eat Your Idols. New song title.
Yeah.
How did Little Texas go about contacting you to do our town?
Good question.
I mean my town, sorry.
It was back, I think it was right after MSB broke up, or right before we were getting ready to break up. And I realized that, if there was going to be a second life, I had to come up with something. And it goes back to what I said earlier, so my main thing is I wanted to be a songwriter. And especially at that time, Nashville was starting to really get huge. So I had written a lot of country flavored tunes, and I specifically sat down and wrote maybe 5 or 6 more. And I put together a demo tape of them. And I sent it around to Nashville to people that I knew there, and just sort of blind submissions to things too. And then I got a call, like a month later, I got a call from a guy who was the producer for Little Texas, who was just starting to be a big band at that point. And he said, "Hey, we want to do its tune of yours." And I said, "Whoa, you heard the tape?" And he said, "What tape?" And I said, "Tape, that's going around Nashville." He goes, "I didn't hear any tape." He goes, he says, "I'm from Akron." He said, I want to do My Town. Huh. And I said, "That is the last song in the world I would have sent to Nashville."
Right.
I just wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have wasted anybody's time with it. But it spoke to these guys and their producer, and they called me out and they said, "Can we change one line in it to make it a little less urban and a little more country, And if you want to do that, you have to get the author's permission to do that." I said, "You can change whatever you want, dude. Just record it." And they recorded it, and luckily for me, it was on an album that was their biggest album. It was kind of, at the time, it was like the country thriller. It had like 6 #1 singles off it in a row, and the album just kept selling like crazy. And it was great. I mean, it's far and away, it's the most money I ever made in the music business, which was
Really?
Little Texas doing that song.
Wow. It's all in the songwriting, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of horror stories, which I know you're well aware of people that don't have their publishing or got screwed out of their publishing, because that's just the way it used to be. Like I said, if you were just wanting to make a record, you'd sign anything.
Sure.
You'd give them your sister. You didn't care. You just do this so you could, sort of fulfill your dream. And a lot of people lost their publishing. Some have been lucky enough to get it back and things, but that's really where the money is in terms of recording.
Sure. All the way down, sir, right there. Chris, yeah. The gentleman right there. Yep.
Hi, Michael. I love your cover of "To Love Somebody." Do you have any of your songs that you think other artists could do a good job with?
Thank you. First of all, that was a fun song to do. I have a lot of them. I can't realize why they've just ignored them this long. I mean, it was, and that's I think in terms of moving on to some other level, that's really the only thing left for me, or that's open to me, is if somebody else would to get this. Now I could pair the songs up with people and go, "You should do this, you should do that, we'll all be fine. We'll all make a lot of money. We'll all have a good time." But once again, it's a who you know type of thing, or a lot of times it has to be an artist who has a lot of control and a lot of power. I happen to know. I wrote a song. I think not for this album. I think it was the album before. And the minute I wrote it, I said, "This is a Taylor Swift song. This would be great for Taylor Swift. This would speak to her audience. This would be great." And I'm a Taylor Swift fan. So as it turns out, I happen to know somebody in the band, in Taylor Swift's band. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, dude, I got this song I think would be great, for Taylor. If I send it to you, could you, slide it her way, And he said, I'd love to. He said, "We're not allowed to give her any songs. We're not allowed to present anything, of our own, let alone anybody else's. It all comes down to management and all these things. So I'd love to do that, and I think there's a lot of good material there that a lot of different people could do. hopefully they'll stumble on it.
Do you have a favorite song or two of your own in your catalog?
It sounds like a cop-out answer, but it varies from day to day.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite songs is a song called "Somewhere in the Night," which was thank you, which I co-wrote with Bob Palander. We did a lot of writing together. But I used this spiel on some of the shows where I said, if you look back on songwriters you like, usually, and you go through the work and sort of dissect it, you'll find there's a thread that, or a couple threads that run through that they're working through. You know, they're trying to figure it all out. And for me, I realized that the thread was, you just never know. You know, and "Somewhere in the Night" is the first of the "You Just Never Know" songs. I realized that's where it started, and it's always been the song's always been in the set, no matter what band it was, no matter what version. It's always been in there, and I think that's where it all got going. You know, Lovers is a good tune. I like that. A lot of the ones I really like are probably ones that you passed right over. You know, I mean, I never know what you guys are going to like. I mean, and I don't sit there and think, will you like this? You know, I've been blessed with the fact that I still have an audience, enough of an audience, to make it meaningful, and an audience that will let me try some things. You know, I mean, there's still four of us from MSB that pretty much play on these things. Myself and Tommy Dobek and Bob Palander and Danny Powers, sometimes Michael Gismondi. And, you know, every once in a while, when I'll play them a song, you know, they'll go, "That's an MSB song." You know, I go, "Yeah, you're right. That would have fit on Heartland, or that would have fit on this." And I guess that's sort of my default setting. But at the same time, in the solo stuff, I think there's an amazing amount of stuff that wouldn't have fit on MSB albums. But it's nice, and once again, I truly appreciate the chance to do that. And you guys, you know, that's how I know if I'm going in a direction you like or not, because people they'll mention songs, or they'll ask for this song, or let's say song, but 9 times out of 10, the one I think everybody's just going to go crazy for, no one cares about whatsoever. You know, it's like, what album is that on? You know, type of thing.
Did I record?
Yeah, really. I never heard that one.
Yeah. You got another one out there? Yeah, over there, Jen. Thank you.
I'll embarrass you.
Uh-oh. This could be trouble.
I just wanted to know what your most memorable stage moment was.
Well, I think the first time we headlined the Coliseum, I was the leader of the band. I was in the middle of the stage. My job when we went on stage was to make sure everybody was ready to go before I counted off the first song. And there would be a thing of, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Everybody go." And I remember the first time we played the Coliseum, sold out the Coliseum, headlined there. It was pretty overwhelming. And I was a little nervous. And I got everybody's, okay, if they were ready to go, and I turned around to count it off, and Gary Markowski, our guitar player at the time, grabbed me by the arm. He said, "Hey, wait a minute." He goes, "Turn around. Take this in. It's only going to happen once. Take this in." And he turned around, and it was, everybody was on their feet with their lighters, and we hadn't played a note yet, and this sort of thing. And he was right. But after about 10 seconds of that, I was like, whoa, this is a tsunami of love coming this way, and I'm going to get crushed by this. I got to start this thing. But I think that might have been. Or, of course, when my kids were on stage with me, Oh, that's a good one. This pretty young lady, beautiful young lady here who asked the question is one of my daughters. And one time during, I think it was a Michael Stanley and Friends period. I think it was. Don't think it was the band. Was it the band? It was a reunion concert with the band. We had a ballad called "Why Should Love Be This Way?" That used to be big in the day. And Anna came out and did a duet with me on it. And that was a pretty special thing because, you know, you don't see that coming down the pike, you know, let alone end up, you could maybe see somebody going, I'd like to sing that with you, Dad. And you go like, no, wait. I've heard you sing, you're not going to sing. But she happens to have a lovely voice. And I was more amazed at the fact that she had the guts and the courage to just come out on stage and blossom and do this. And a couple of the guys in the band who had been there since the day she was born, I mean, down here, oh my God, drummer's crying, he's waiting. So that was pretty up there too. Yeah, that was a loaded question.
That's a great moment. Yeah, right in the center, Jen. Everybody asking questions is right in the center, unless I'm missing somebody over here. Putting our mic folks to the test. With an MSB shirt,
Yep.
all right?
Yes, I got it at Black River Landing in June. Were those your grandsons that were
Those were.
that came up on since you were talking about
Yes,
your daughter?
yes, that's where I have 3 granddaughters and 2 grandsons.
They didn't look impressed, I have to say.
Yeah.
They, it's like, this is Grandpa, So,
Yeah, I don't think it was the high point of their summer, really.
well, but on a side note, I just want to say that I have the chance to say thank you for the many, many years and the music therapy you've saved me from so many psychiatry visits that, you've just been such...
It is cheaper than therapy. Thank you.
You have been such a part of our lives from the time we were younger. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you. It's like I said, it's been a mutual thing, and her point is really good. I've used that as a sort of a cop-out joke line, but it's the truth. I mean, writing for me, it's therapy.
Yeah.
And if you like the end result, that's just a bonus. That's just an added bonus. I'm just one of those. I'm a fan, just like you guys are, of somebody, And I get, there's songs that have gotten me through the worst times of my life, and songs that have, you want to put on when it's the happiest time of your life, and all these things, and songs that explain things to me, and songs that brought up questions that you end up seeking out the answers for. And if music can do all those things, I mean, that's the beauty of it, and the fact that I've just been so lucky to be able to do something my whole life that I probably would have done for free, but it's still it's nice to get paid for it.
Michael, I got to ask you, on the inside of the record, you say, it's your world, pay attention.
That was something that when we started the record company like 10, 12 years ago, that was, it just came up one day, and my wife and I were talking about it, and it was just one of those things. We were talking about the fact that it just didn't seem like a lot of people were paying attention, that there was stuff going on and stuff getting done, and it wouldn't, stuff that we thought was detrimental, to whether it was on a societal level or an individual level or whatever. And that it was the fact that basically, for whatever reason, people weren't paying attention. They were either accepting things at face value, or they weren't looking into them, or they were, they were too busy working 3 jobs, or, being single moms, or whatever the circumstances were. And, we're all riding around on this thing together. We really are. And we're all in the lifeboat, and we got to pull in relatively the same direction. Hopefully, one. So that was just made a good T-shirt. So
Yeah, it is a good one. We want to make sure we can get you out and give folks plenty of time to see outside. Before we wrap up, though, I wanted to give a big shout out to Mike Belkin and Barry Gable for really making tonight happen. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Michael. This has been a great record for
Thank
me
you for your time, and
personally
once
to
again,
dig into, and it's an absolute blast.
you know what? This is just a continuation of every interview that I do. The interviewer looks more rock and roll than I do. Kill for these boots. They're great boots.
That's great. Now, folks, if I can just ask your patience a little bit, if you just hang tight in here for a minute till we can get Michael set up outside before you start handing him things to sign, because I know you guys, and you'll be up here real quick. That'll be great. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight, and we'll be set up outside. And just right quick, Mike, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Appreciate it.
great.
Thank you for coming out.